Welcome back to another edition of the Gadget Lab Show. I'm Michael Calori.
And I'm Alexandra Chang.
Coming up a little bit later, we're going to show you some brand new Google devices, but first we have some brand new Windows Phone devices.
Yes, we have two new brand new Windows Phone devices, the HTC 8X and then the Lumia 920 from Nokia.
And these are both running Windows Phone 8?
Yeah, that's Microsoft's newest platform, newest mobile platform at least. Windows Phone 8, which they announced on October 29th. And both of these phones are not yet available, but they're going to be available sometime in November before Black Friday.
Okay, so as the operating system on the phone, what are your impressions?
It's good. It's really good, actually.
It's
really speedy. It's different. I mean, you get this whole tile-based interface, which is super new compared to Android and iOS icon-based interfaces. So, I mean, it's nice. Both of the phones are super speedy. They both have dual-core processors now, so everything's fast and really intuitive to use.
It's also, it mirrors a lot of Windows 8.
Right.
You
so
know,
Windows
like
8 has the same
start
tile.
screen.
Yeah.
And I think it's, in the little bit of time that I've played with it, I think it's probably best for somebody who is already well into the Windows world, right?
Right.
Now, this phone, this new Nokia looks a lot like the old Nokia.
Right.
They're
Actually,
almost-
all the Windows phones look kind of alike.
They all have this kind of funky blue color.
Right, and they have the same frame around the curved glass display.
Is that a conscious thing with Microsoft and its hardware partners?
I don't know. They didn't say anything about it, but I think colors is definitely a conscious thing just because live tiles are super colorful. It would make sense for the hardware to be as colorful as the operating system.
So, of the two new ones, of the Lumia and the HTC, which one's your favorite?
I don't know. At first, this
Oh,
one
come
was...
on, you have to pick one.
I know. This one, I really like this one because it's super thin
That's
and
the
light.
HTC.
It's the HTC 8X. But then this one has a way better camera, significantly better camera.
Yeah.
It's on par with the iPhone 5 camera.
I noticed in your review of the HTC, you didn't really like the camera as
the camera's
much. That was
kind of crappy.
the weak point. Well, that's interesting. That Lumia is too heavy for me.
Right.
I felt the
one's
same
super
way about
heavy.
the old one too.
So if you want a pocketable phone, this is obviously not going to be the phone. This one will probably be the one you want, if you're thinking about Windows Phone at least.
Yeah, and you can read all about the 20 and the 8X, and Alexandra reviewed both of them on Wired.com. All right, Nathan's here, and he's brought with him the brand new Google Nexus 4.
Yep, here it is. It is fantastic. I've been using it for the last week, and it's a really, really great phone.
He loves the phone.
I love this phone.
What do you love about it?
Well, nearly everything. It's the nicest overall Android handset I've seen come out this year. It's one of the nicest Android phones I've ever seen made ever. It's beautiful. The build quality is great. The materials used are top notch. It's super fast. It's lightweight. The display is gorgeous. It has everything I could want in a smartphone.
And the software.
It's the latest version of Google's Android Jelly Bean operating system, but there's a bunch of small new features. There's a feature in here with the camera where you can actually take a 360-degree panoramic photo, and then you can upload it to Google Plus, or you can share it to Google Maps. So if you're in your favorite pizzeria and it's not on Google Maps, you can actually submit that to Google, and if they approve it, they'll put it up there. Now, Google's Street View team actually built this, took it to the Android guys. The Android guys made some user interface changes, but this is a great example of Google kind of working with itself to build something really cool for consumers. The display technology is LG, the processors, it's got a quad-core processor in here. It's super cutting edge in almost every way, except one pretty big omission that is probably going to piss off a bunch of people. There's no LTE connectivity here. $300 for 8 gigs unlocked. $350 for 16 gigs of storage unlocked, or T-Mobile is the one carrier right now currently selling this phone, and they're going to sell it for $200 on contract with 16 gigs of storage.
All right, but not as an LTE device.
No, T-Mobile doesn't actually have an LTE network yet. Right. They have a different type of 4G network called HSPA+. Now, what does that mean? Well, LTE is newer and it can reach higher theoretical speeds. but T-Mobile's older LTE, 4G network, not LTE, is still really, really fast. They're going to move over to LTE. They haven't done so yet, but AT&T's starting. Sprint is barely starting to get their network out there. Verizon has a few hundred markets in the U.S., but in Europe and other, countries and continents, LTE isn't even something that most carriers are thinking of. They're just barely starting to get started as well. Now, the reason why Google is skipping LTE is because they want to sell this phone all over the world. And HSPA plus networks, GSM, the technology inside this phone allows them to do that. So that's why you got no LTE here. Google isn't saying if an LTE version will come out, but that's going to piss a lot of people off.
Well, it's a strategy that's worked for them because we've always recommended the Nexus devices to people who are travelers, people who hop around from country to country, continent to continent with regularity because they perform really well under those circumstances.
Yeah, and this handset will. It's a really fantastic phone. I like the ability to be able to buy it for $300 or $350 off contract.
Yeah, and it's got a really nice, really nice screen on it. LG really did wonders on that. Now, the last few were done by Samsung. Right?
Yep. But Samsung is no longer Google's preferred Nexus partner. They went with LG on this one, and this is actually the first LG smartphone that I really like. No offense, LG, you guys have made some good stuff, but this is just way better
That's
than
really
anything they've ever made.
So what has Samsung been up to in the Nexus line?
Well, actually, Samsung has been working with Google to build the Nexus 10, which is Google's first Nexus 10-inch tablet. Now, their first tablet was the Nexus 7, which they built with Asus. It was fantastic. It's still our favorite, 7-inch tablet here. Definitely the nicest 10-inch Android tablet that I've ever used. The display is really sharp. It actually has a higher resolution display than Apple's Retina displays on the 3rd and 4th generation iPad.
Yeah, no, that's quite a claim because right now when you go to if you go to Google Play, they're advertising the device and they advertise it as the best screen available in a 10-inch tablet.
Yeah, and when you look at the specs, the resolution is higher, but honestly, you set them side by side and they're both gorgeous.
Yeah.
They're both insanely good looking.
You can't really tell the difference.
No, you can't. You can't really tell the difference. Like you zoom in on text and it looks like it was printed on a piece of paper. But in daily use, in your actual practical use, this is beautiful. The iPad's beautiful. This is a win for consumers because all this stuff looks great. And really, the most compelling part here for this device is, it's got a top-notch screen. I think that's expected. I mean, Google really had to do that. If they did anything less than that, well, no one would even want to consider this. But the user interface changes that Google's made here, they've made Android easier to use. They're putting your content front and center, just like they did on the Nexus 7 with this My Library widget.
Yeah.
If you want to get rid of it and you want to go back to a more old school Android experience, you can do that too.
You can move them all to one page. That's what I did.
Yeah.
One screen.
Exactly. So, there's a ton of customizability here, and this is the best overall tablet experience on a 10-inch device that I've seen. Plus, it's super fast. It's really nice and thin and light. And there's this great, grippy plastic on the back, which does get, smudged up with fingerprints pretty quick.
Yeah.
But it makes it really easy to hold with one hand for a 10-inch tablet. It's a lot more comfortable to hold for a long time than the iPad.
If you have tried an Android tablet and you've not been super into it, you have to try the ones with Android Jelly Bean on them that Google makes, the Nexus devices. Because it's a totally different representation of Android than what you see on, something like the Galaxy Note 10.1.
Totally.
Like something a big tablet, even if it comes with an unflavored version of Android, the Google Nexus devices always get the over-the-air updates before anybody else. So you always have the most recent version of Android and the way exactly that Google intended you to look at it. So it's important, if you're going to judge Android and its merits, it's important to judge it on these devices first.
Yep, I totally agree. This is the best 10-inch Android tablet out there.
I think you should say that a few more times, just in case people are just tuning in now. They didn't quite get that.
Yeah.
How much is this one, by the way? Is $500?
$400.
$400. What a bargain. And you can read Nathan's reviews on Wired, and we will see you next week.
All right.